Imagine you decide to rob a bank. You get caught. You go to jail. That is how it works for you, me, and pretty much everyone else on the planet. But what if I told you there is one job where breaking the law might just be part of the job description? Welcome back. Today, we are not talking about petty theft. We are talking about the highest office in the land. We are diving deep into the history books to find the moments when United States presidents looked at the Constitution, shrugged, and said, "Nah, not today." And the craziest part? They actually got away with it. Buckle up. We are looking at when presidents broke the law and walked free. Let's start with a curveball. The guy on the $5 bill, Honest Abe. You think of Lincoln as the ultimate hero, right? The man who saved the Union. And he was. But to save the Union, he had to break the rules. Big time. Picture this. It's 1861. The Civil War is just kicking off. Things are chaotic. Maryland is a powder keg. And if Maryland joins the South, the capital, Washington, D.C., is totally surrounded. Lincoln is panicked. He needs to keep control. So what does he do? He suspends the writ of habeas corpus. Now, I know that sounds like boring legal jargon, so let me translate. Habeas corpus is the right that says the government can't just throw you in a dungeon without a judge saying there is a good reason. It is literally the bedrock of freedom. Lincoln suspended it. He started arresting people, journalists, politicians, random guys at the bar who talked too much smack about the war, and he threw them in military prisons. No trial, no judge, just locked up. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court at the time, a guy named Roger Taney, was furious. He issued a ruling saying, "Mr. President, you cannot do that. That is illegal." And do you know what Lincoln did? He essentially ghosted the Supreme Court. He ignored the ruling. He famously asked a question that still haunts legal scholars today. Are all the laws, but one, to go unexecuted, and the government itself go to pieces, lest that one be violated? Translation: if I follow the rules, the country dies. So I'm breaking the rules. And he did. He saved the country, and he never faced a single legal consequence for it. Now, let's fast forward to the 1940s. Another war. Another beloved president. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. FDR is usually the good guy in the history books, right? He beat the Depression. He beat the Nazis. But he also signed Executive Order 9066. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, panic set in. People were terrified. But instead of calming everyone down, FDR signed an order that forced over 100,000 Japanese Americans, most of them U.S. citizens, out of their homes and into internment camps. They lost their businesses, their houses, their freedom, solely because of their ancestry. Now you might be thinking, surely that is illegal. You can't lock up citizens based on race. And you would be right. But here is the kicker. This time, the president didn't just ignore the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court agreed with him. In a case called Korematsu versus United States, the court ruled that the need to protect against espionage outweighed individual rights. It wasn't until decades later that the government formally apologized and admitted it was wrong. But FDR? He faced 0 charges. He died a hero. It is a stark reminder that sometimes getting away with it happens because the people in charge of the law decide to look the other way. Okay, we can't do this list without talking about the big one. The elephant in the room. Richard Nixon. Watergate wasn't just a break-in. It was a massive organized criminal conspiracy run from the Oval Office. We are talking about bugging political opponents, using the IRS to target enemies, and paying hush money to burglars. It was like a mob movie, but with worse suits. Everyone knows Nixon resigned. He quit before they could impeach him. But here is the part where he gets away with it. Nixon was a private citizen after he resigned. Prosecutors were ready. They were sharpening their pencils. They wanted to put a former president on trial. The evidence was there. The smoking gun, tape proved. He tried to cover it up. But then in steps Gerald Ford. One Sunday morning, Ford goes on TV and grants Nixon a full, free, and absolute pardon for any crimes he might have committed. Just like that. Poof. The legal case vanished. Ford said He did it to heal the nation. He wanted to move on, but the message it sent was loud and clear. If you are the president and you have a friend in the vice president's chair, you are untouchable. Nixon lived out the rest of his life writing books and giving interviews, not sitting in a cell. Let's hit one more. The 1980s. Ronald Reagan, the Teflon president. This one is complicated, so stick with me. It's called the Iran-Contra affair. Here is the setup. Congress passed a law, the Boland Amendment, that explicitly said, Mr. President, do not send money to the Contra rebels in Nicaragua. Congress held the purse strings, and they pulled them tight. But the Reagan administration really wanted to fund those rebels. So they came up with a scheme that sounds like it was written by a drunk spy novelist. They secretly sold missiles to Iran, yes, an enemy of the United States, to get hostages released. Then they took the profit from those missile sales and secretly funneled it to the Contras in Nicaragua. They broke an arms embargo, and they broke the law Congress passed. When the story broke, it was a massive scandal. People went to jail. Oliver North, the guy running the operation, got convicted, though it was later overturned on a technicality. But what about the boss? What about Reagan? He used the ultimate defense. He said he didn't know, or he couldn't remember. He went on TV and admitted that mistakes were made, but he maintained that he never authorized the illegal stuff. He escaped because of plausible deniability. He set up a system where his underlings did the dirty work, so he could keep his hands clean. Did he break the law? Most historians think he at least ignored the Constitution's separation of powers. Did he get away with it? Absolutely. He left office with one of the highest approval ratings in history. So, why does this matter? Why are we talking about Lincoln, FDR, Nixon, and Reagan today? Because it asks a scary question. Is the president above the law? Technically, no. The Constitution says nobody is above the law. But practically, history shows us that if the stakes are high enough, or if the war is scary enough, or if the political friends are loyal enough, the rules become more like guidelines. We see this debate happening right now. Every time a president pushes the boundaries of executive power, we have to ask, is this necessary for the country? Or is this a crime in progress? The scary thing isn't just that they broke the law. It's that in almost every case, the system, the courts, the Congress, or the voters let them slide. What do you think? Should Lincoln have been arrested for suspending habeas corpus? Was Ford right to pardon Nixon? I want to hear your take in the comments below. This is a heavy topic, and there are no easy answers. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the dark side of the presidency, smash that like button. It helps the channel more than you know. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next video, where we might just explore the times the CIA went totally rogue. Thanks for watching.